What do I do? This is cat's covered with hair.
I'm also covered in hair, and we don't have an intro. Welcome, everybody, to the Glacier Gamble. This is episode 36, I believe. 36. You know, there's just so many great episodes. It's hard to keep track.
They all mesh together at this point.
Yeah, it's just one long, continuous series, just like Marvel movies. We got a lot of good information for you today. I am not feeling great, so if this comes out late, I apologize. If it comes out on time, pat myself on the back here. We got some good NBA talk. We got some Minnesota Timberwolves. We got some blockbuster trades that people were talking about happening this offseason potentially. Then we have some NFL news. We got some coaching hires, quarterback news, XFL with just one quick XFL story. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, some other quarterback news. And that's actually all we got for you. We'll probably start doing college football here soon, but not yet, not until we get a little bit closer, just because that's not really something super interesting. Once people are a little more interested, when the draft gets closer, we'll start covering that. I got some people I got my eye on, but we're not going to actually create stories yet. Anyway, starting with the NBA, Tracy McGrady, he made a statement about a current superstar in the NBA, what a lot of people say is currently the best player in the NBA, considering he's the reigning champion and is sleepwalking to almost averaging a triple-double as a big man. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tracy McGrady said he would struggle because he would get clamped and not be allowed to get into the lane. They would clog the lane. So he would have to develop a shot. So he would not be able to handle his generation of basketball, his era. A lot of people reacted to that, on either side. But I was watching an interview with Shaq. And Shaq, it wasn't brought up. This was just a completely separate interview. And Shaq said, they asked him if he'd be able to handle the NBA today. How would he be able to play in today without being able to shoot? And I was like, okay, well, this works perfectly with the Giannis situation. And Shaq said, I would play like Giannis. I thought that was absolutely perfect. Like, yeah, Giannis isn't Shaq's size. Like, Shaq came into the NBA.
If Shaq was in today's NBA, Shaq would feast.
Shaq's going to dominate no matter what generation is in. I mean, he's 7'1", 320 pounds, and he came into the NBA at 6% body fat or something like that. It was just nuts. Shaq saying, in order to be successful for somebody like him in the NBA, the person he'd more like model his game after is Giannis, I think was proof that Tracy McGrady was so wrong. I think Giannis would be just as successful. I wouldn't say he would be Shaq successful because he's not the same size, but Giannis could play the same way as he does now.
I don't think he would struggle in T-Mac's era. I think if Giannis came into the league during that era, I think his skill set would probably have developed a little bit different than it has in this, like no one can stop him from driving the lane or anything. But yeah, I think in like T-Mac Shaq era, there was a lot of dominant bigs. You got Yao, you got David Robinson, Tim Duncan,
Ben Wallace,
White. You know what I mean? Like all these, there's a lot of bigs that were probably better rim defenders than we have in our
the smaller names like Antonio McDyess.
I
got Alonzo Mourning. I can't believe. Yeah, you got
there's a lot of like big rim defender type people. So I do think Giannis's game would have to change a little bit.
Yeah.
But if he came in that era, his game would have adapted to that era. So
if he came in that era, they would have had him develop post moves. As opposed to now where he can just rely on being bigger, stronger, faster. Yeah. They would have just had him develop his footwork, probably work on his free throws. Shaq didn't have to work on his free throws, but that was the thing, is they ended up being able to do hack a Shaq, hack a Ben Wallace. They did those sorts of things. If Giannis grew up in that era, I think he would work on free throws based on his current mentality. He just seems like a guy that would work. I think he would work on free throws, and I think the 100% he would work on a low post fade. He would work on a what is it?
He'd probably have an off
season
season with Dirk. Like he could, you know what I mean? So
up and under. Yeah, he would do something with Dirk. Absolutely. Yeah. Which, Dirk has 6 different areas of the floor where he was the highest scorer in NBA history.
Yeah, most of them were 5 of them were
mid-range from the left side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he would necessarily struggle, and that's unfair if I guess that's unfair from TMac saying he would need to shoot or develop a shot.
Because that's what TMac had to do. TMac had to eventually develop a shot.
Yeah.
Part of TMac having to develop a shot was injuries, so he couldn't move as much. But
a lot of players in today's NBA wouldn't be able to survive in that old school NBA, and then vice versa. People in that old school NBA wouldn't be able to survive in this.
It's because it's so different. It'd be you get there's different pacing. Then there's different physicality. It's impossible to compare eras because, and just like you said, if Giannis grew up in that era, he's going to not develop his game the way it is now.
Yeah.
Steph grows up in that era, Steph is going to become a distributor. Steph's going to focus on assists over shooting.
Yeah. And even Cat, for instance, all those centers would never be out on the 3-point line.
No.
All those big defensive centers would never be out on the 3-point line. So
Cat would be a 4.
Cat's gonna either get every shot he wants out there, or he's gonna be able to blow by whoever's guarding him at this. So
I think Cat would 100% be like a Dirk 4.
Oh yeah,
he would be next to one of those. He would be next to a Samuel D'Alembert. He would. It's
Candy.
Yeah, he would definitely be by some of these big men. So I think T-Mac's wrong. I love Tracy McGrady. But he's 100% wrong here, in my opinion. I think Giannis would succeed because he wouldn't be current Giannis. He'd be that Giannis.
Yeah.
And he'd still be 6'10" and fast. Next, speaking of Cat, though, we were just talking about him. Cat is the greatest shooting big man of all time. We mentioned last week or a couple weeks ago that they were calling Joel Embiid the best shooting big man of all time. And then you and I said no.
Yeah, Joel Embiid's 3-point percentage over his career is 25%. It's not great. He just recently, a couple of years ago, started getting a mid-range jumper.
Yeah. I think it was last year he had a streak of 10 games where he was shooting 46% from 3. So it's I think people sometimes they think about peaks of players and attribute that peak across their whole career.
Yeah.
So when they think Joel Embiid, they're well, he can shoot at a 46% clip from 3. Well, he can't for a whole season if he can play the whole season.
Not a lot of people even shoot 40% from 3. That's such a tough feat.
Steph can barely shoot over 40 from 3.
Yeah. Did you know that Russell Westbrook, this is just a random fact, you brought up Steph, Russell Westbrook has a higher field goal percentage right now than Steph does?
Yeah, this is Steph's worst shooting year of his career. He started out super hot. Everybody said he was
Steph Curry. Yeah, since it's Steph Curry as opposed to Russell Westbrook's fall from grace or whatever. But
yeah, everybody thinks Russ is just the worst, but all of a sudden Steph is, having the worst year of his career, and nobody seems to talk about it because he's golden boy. So it's kind of I think he's one of the best players of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
But we can also be honest and say Steph is trash. He was hot to begin, and then this year he's just been below
trash
average.
To Steph standards is still better.
Yeah. Well, he's I don't know, below average. I've said it before. I said this about Anthony Edwards, that if you're taking a ton of shots, that if you're not making at least 40-50% of those shots from 2 and 3 total, you end up hurting your team more than helping.
You see Ant's super efficient nights, and we just don't it's just
and when Steph shoots 8 for 10 from 3, I guarantee anytime he's over 50%, the Warriors win rate is probably just insane. So yeah, I mean he's just not doing well this year, which is that's totally fine. Nobody's perfect. But Cat, on the other hand, was damn near perfect in the 3-point contest for the final round.
A new final record, even though they changed the amount of points you can get. I know we were upset with that because Capono had it. Yeah, and they changed it. Steph beat it.
In my eyes, Capono still has it. Capono has his own with an asterisk because the scoring was different.
Right. But then Cat decided to beat that previous record. Instead of being 28 in the final round, he got 29. He missed his last 4 shots too.
He was on pace to go
better.
Yeah.
And that other Mountain Dew ball was in and out.
It was pretty awesome. We love Cat. We're huge Karl. It's the only Sports Illustrated I own is that Karl-Anthony Towns KG1.
Then the last big man, a 4 or 5 to win it, was 10 years ago. It was Kevin Love, Minnesota Timberwolves. So before that, it was Dirk. Those are the only big men to ever win the 3-point contest.
Was Peja considered a big man?
I think he was a 3 at the time.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So, but in today's NBA, he'd be a 4. So
right. Well, yeah, I'm so happy for Cat. I do think he is, with no Cat, the best shooting big man of all time. I know it sounds exaggerating. It sounds, oh, you guys are home fans. Yes, we're home fans, but it doesn't mean that's not true. And I saw that Jarrett Allen said he wants to do the 3-point contest next year. I don't see him doing as well as Cat, but I'm all for it. But yeah, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is, I think he deserved that, and it was super awesome. If Steph and Clay were in it, Steph got 28. So yeah, Steph got 28 in his final. So it means Cat could have beaten these other guys. So congratulations, Karl-Anthony Towns. Just awesome. The last NBA topic we have is regarding another big man who many people believe is better than Cat. However, because of his health, I'll take Cat any day. Anthony Davis. People, we talked about it last week. Big news networks are stealing our thing, saying Anthony Davis needs to be traded, and now they're saying LeBron needs to be traded, but it started with taking our Anthony Davis thing. It was the odd couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker that brought this up. They said that if the Lakers were to trade Anthony Davis, they think the best trade would be Anthony Davis to the Miami Heat for Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, because it was originally supposed to be it was Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo was the rumor. The guys on the odd couple said that wasn't nearly enough and that you'd have to put Jimmy in there as well. I don't know where this huge idea of Anthony Davis has come from. Like, I understand Anthony Davis is amazing. Like, he's very good. Nobody talks about him the way that they talk about a lot of other superstars. Like, if another like the way people are talking about Damian Lillard right now, worst player on the NBA, all 75, most overrated player in basketball, but because he's never been able to go deep into the playoffs, he only leads to regular season success, which is exactly what Anthony Davis had in New Orleans. And except Damian Lillard, this is the first time he's ever really had a long-term injury. And so, like, I don't get why people think Anthony Davis is worth 6 first-round picks. I don't understand why Anthony Davis is worth a Jimmy Butler and a Bam.
Yeah, New Orleans Pelicans AD, when he got traded from the Pelicans to New Orleans, if you want to set the precedent of a superstar value, it was 3 first-round picks and 3 former first-round picks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, and Anthony Davis didn't really have long-term health issues in New Orleans. But yeah, you get him to LA, and now it's like your team is so old, you have no assets. It's almost desperate. Like, the Lakers want to win a championship. I understand that. Like, they want to win another championship with LeBron. But like, once LeBron is gone, you have no window. You have no plan. Nothing. You have no window, no plan.
That's why they refused to trade that first round pick with John Wall and Russ.
Yeah.
Because they had to have something. Yep.
Yeah. I remember texting you and I was like, I have an unpopular opinion. I was like, I would trade AD. And you were like, dude, I was just thinking this.
Yeah.
I was just thinking this. So I would have shopped AD. I would have done a Westbrook for Wall trade. I probably wouldn't have included the first round pick.
No.
But you got to tell me you have some other asset that you can move and get John Wall.
Or, be like, we won't give you a first, but how about 2 seconds? Like, is that okay? Like, yeah. I would have tried to get Westbrook for Wall, and I 100% would have been like, what can we get for AD? Can we get?
If you could have gotten Bam and Jimmy,
you do that in a heartbeat.
You do it in a heartbeat. Like, you just. Yeah.
I think there's no way. I think Jimmy Butler is the one who's most upset about that trade, because Jimmy goes from a team that actually is built around.
Yeah, and why would he do that? They're like third in the East.
Because the Heat feel like they're one piece away, and apparently there's issues with Bam. I don't know if it's off court, on court, whatever it is, but apparently Bam is the piece that they want to shop. I don't know. If I were them, I'd probably try to shop Hero, because I think he's overvalued. But anyway, and then the other trade they mentioned was Karl-Anthony Towns. We were just talking about him. In the same conversation after bringing up Bam and Jimmy, they said, how about AD for Cat? And then Chris Broussard said, you'd have to get more. It'd have to be more than just Cat, though. And I'm sitting there like, no, it'd have to be more than Anthony Davis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, why would the Timberwolves mess up their current young core that's doing well for somebody who's probably not going to play for them and has about the same amount of playoff experience and proof as Cat does?
Yeah, we are 2.5 games, 2.5 games away from Denver for a playoff absolute playoff spot.
All right, without having to the play.
And we are basically guaranteed, like, as long as we go 500, we're guaranteed the 7th slot, which means we just have to win 1 of 2 games to get into the playoffs. And the Lakers are like on the verge of getting out of the play-in. Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
I don't think they would. And so I thought that conversation was ridiculous.
It's not like, yeah.
It's that overvaluing of AD. Like it's that huge overvalue. It's not only do people not watch Timberwolves games, but everybody thinks AD is just some miraculous, one of the best big man of all time.
Maybe we are overvaluing Cat. Like, we very well could be overvaluing Cat.
Sure.
But every fan base is going to overvalue their players. So, like, if these are Lakers fans, which I'm assuming, like, Broussard is like,
they both currently live in LA, I believe.
So yeah, they're overvaluing their own player. Like, I understand that, but like,
either that or New York. One of them lives
in New York. Like, if we're talking about Westbrook and Wall, which we're not Lakers fans. We're just basketball fans, and we have basketball knowledge. We can look at that trade and be like, yes, the Lakers need to do that to get better. Sure. Even AD for Jimmy and Bam, like, that's a hard loss.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I thought those trades were dumb. That's really all we have for basketball talk. I think Anthony Davis is overvalued. If I were the Timberwolves, I would have asked for more. So if the Lakers asked for more, I would
have asked for probably a lot more. Like, Cat's like 3 years younger than AD too.
No thanks. I'm happy where the Timberwolves are.
One more thing. Speaking of the Timberwolves, there was a small interaction between Karl-Anthony Towns and Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
At All-Star weekend. And I thought it was funny. Cat was talking. This was two games before the All-Star break. We went up against Toronto and lost, but we went up against Charlotte, and Cat had like 19 points in the fourth quarter and overtime to beat Charlotte. And Michael Jordan essentially went up to him. They were talking for a little bit, and then Michael Jordan had to get pulled to go to the NBA 75 thing. And he's like, I saw what you did to my team. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yep. And so there are people making jokes that he didn't recognize Cat.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, yeah, they didn't understand that what he was saying to Cat. He definitely, I couldn't catch the first thing. It sounded like you cooked us, but the second thing he told Cat was 100% fuck you. Like, he definitely told Cat fuck you, which is why Cat went, eh. Like, eventually Cat wouldn't let go of his hand. He was like, eh. Like, that was Cat's response to being told fuck you by Michael Jordan. I thought,
a little interaction. And Jordan's competitive, obviously, but
yeah, he told Magic Johnson 1v1 me on the court right now.
Yeah. So, but it was all good taste. It was all good stuff.
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan, similar to Kobe, it's always, like, tongue in cheek a little bit. Like, he definitely wants to say fuck you, and he 100% means it. Like, he was 100% telling Cat fuck you.
Yeah.
But he was also saying, like, if I had you on the team, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you were 100%, you cooked us, but if I was on the court, I would have cooked you, sort of thing. I love MJ. I love Michael. He's so great. He's obviously, you hear that he's like a dick and, all this sort of thing. I don't care. I don't care. I would guarantee most athletes that you meet are going to be similar. Anyway, that's it for basketball talk. Got some good conversation in there, I think. So I hope you enjoyed our NBA section. Moving on to football, though, we got some good stuff. First thing that we want to talk about is Brian Flores. We've mentioned him a few times on a couple different episodes. Brian Flores has been hired. If you go back to the first episode when Brian Flores was originally fired, we hadn't heard anything about it yet. This was before he had started like the lawsuit or anything. I don't know if you felt the same. You agreed with me at the time that I said it, but I said I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Flores is hired by the time the Super Bowl's over. And it was only like 2 weeks or a week and a half after the Super Bowl that he was hired, something like that. So like we were right on there. Like Brian Flores is a highly desired coach. I think he's with a good fit. I think with Mike Tomlin, he has not necessarily a similar coaching style as Tomlin. It's almost like Tomlin is more player friendly as opposed to Flores, who is winning first. But I think they're both winning first. It's just Tomlin is willing to give the players what he wants because he understands keeping them happy, sort of thing. And I mentioned this before 20 times. If you can afford somebody who's good enough to be a head coach or a coordinator and have them as a positions coach or a coordinator, you shell out as much money as you can to have the highest paid coaching staff possible. Like I always said, like, I think the Vikings, when they got rid of Zimmer, I was like, bring in a super expensive coach, have that coach bring in, like, look at who everybody else is interviewing for head coaching jobs. Anybody that doesn't get a head coaching job, give them the highest possible wage and make them your coordinator. Right. Like, oh, Eric Bieniemy didn't get any. All right, hire Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator and pay him $4 million. Like, sure. I think doing something like this for the Steelers is going to end up really well for them, especially if they end up getting Deshaun Watson now. If they end up getting Aaron Rodgers, if they end up getting Russell Wilson, if they end up getting Kenny Pickett, I think this is going to work out really well for their team. And I'm actually really happy for Brian Flores. I know that there were some negative things being said about him. No, he deserves a coaching job in the NFL. Doing what he did with the Dolphins, who I don't think are a very good team, being able to do what he did with them was proof he's very good. Mentioned their quarterback situation. There's currently, if I know you already read it, so I can't have you guess.
Yeah.
But if I were to have you guess,
okay, let me take a shot at it.
Who is the highest paid guaranteed money in a single season in NFL history?
Well, I'm just gonna
after next year.
I'm just going to be on Vikings Twitter and say Kirk Cousins. That's just
it is not Kirk Cousins. It is Matt Ryan. Next year, Matt Ryan will be getting around $48 million guaranteed. A big reason for that is restructuring his deals over and over and over, and now the bill has come due. Yep. They can't really restructure it at all. All this money has been restructured to this point because this is about where they could push it, which I think the Falcons are going to be absolutely terrible because of this. They had a couple really good young players, but it doesn't sound like they plan on re-signing Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yep, no.
Cordarrelle Patterson has actually been liking a lot of Vikings tweets recently, just like he did last year. He wants to come back. AJ Terrell can't carry. AJ Terrell and Deion Jones is a great start, but you need more than just that. Kyle Pitts is awesome, but you need more than just that. I think the Falcons are going to pay pretty heavy for this. I don't think any quarterback is worth $48 million. I want all players to take what they can, but also understand that if you don't win, it's because you have such a big salary. Any quarterback that takes 20-30% of the cap, I think, is willing to accept that they might never win a Super Bowl.
And the magic number is 16%.
Otherwise, you have to basically hit a miracle. Like, you have to, everything has to fall, no injuries for your team, low amount of penalties, win every home game that you can, try to get the bye. Like, you have to have it. If you want to be one of those people that you have a high salary cap quarterback and make it into the playoffs or win the Super Bowl, everything has to go right for you. And the Falcons would need a miracle, in my opinion, to try to do anything. But I thought that was crazy. Matt Ryan, highest paid player in a single season. While I do think Matt Ryan deserves to be a highly paid quarterback, because I think he's underrated. He's definitely Matty Ice.
He's definitely on the decline too.
Absolutely, he's on the decline. This is just what happens. You backload a player's salary.
Yeah. Well, Mahomes will top that because he's got the 10-year 50, and so that's probably going to ramp up. He's going to make 50 something some year. So
right. And if they ever restructure and move that money, because I believe they already have moved some of it to further to the back, if they do that consistently, that 10th year, he might be a like 80 million dollar guy. Like, that's one thing.
He's the only guy out there on offense.
Right. Yeah.
All to himself.
He's got like high schoolers blocking for him. Just like volunteers.
They can't even afford the high schoolers. They got to put mats out there. That's their.
Because at that point, high schoolers can have name, image, likeness too, so they'll have to pay them anyway. It's just volunteers. It's like people that work in Kansas City. Like, that's John. He's the McDonald's drive-through guy. On Sundays, he blocks for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they restructure, that's going to be Kansas City in 10 years. That's why, in my opinion, Kansas City, every year they don't win a Super Bowl should be stress-inducing to the max. Yeah. Like, this year would make my blood pressure skyrocket. Like, not only did we not make it to this, not only did we not win, we didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'd be a little nervous. Next thing we want to talk about is actually the XFL. So that'll be our next discussion. Now owned by, The Rock, Dwayne Swanson. Apparently, the XFL is going to work with the NFL, which is what, in order for the XFL, another football league to succeed, in my opinion, that's what they've had to do this whole time. Like, if you don't work with the NFL, if you try to compete with the NFL, you're going to lose. So working with the NFL is your highest chance of success. Probably means the NFL is going to take a share of the revenue, which is disappointing, but for them. But I mean, longevity of the league could be helpful. It sounds like it's going to function like a G League. They're going to test out different rules. So when the NFL wants to propose a radical rule change, they're going to put it in the XFL. And the XFL doesn't sound like they really have a choice. They're going to have to implement it and try to work their way around these rules. Example, I believe one of the things that they'd like to, which planned 5 to 10 years in the future, is laser in the ball, like a laser sensor, so that we no longer need the chains, manual chains, so that we'll have the exact spotting of the ball at all times. A lot of people are against that.
You see how far it went forward?
Yeah.
In a scrap
Yeah.
or whatever.
So now you take away the ref having a bad spot, and you take away the chains, and the yellow line will probably be more exact on the production and stuff like that. You know, what will it be like if we put in only needing 1 foot down to count as a catch?
Sure.
How do we define what is a catch?
Overtime rules.
Overtime rules, absolutely, yeah. So they're gonna test everything out in the XFL. Sounds like XFL players will be allowed to be up to a certain point and brought into the NFL, but after a certain point, I don't know if it'll be functioning like a trade deadline where you can't sign the XFL player beyond that point. Should be really interesting. I think that's super smart on both ends, because the NFL's always needed some sort of G League, in my opinion, something where guys that maybe that have fallen off, people don't seem to sign them anymore. They're going for the young guys to show that they still have a spot. This is something I think Adrian Peterson would have used during that time off where he was without a team.
Yeah. To
show that he still had some in the tank. And then you got rookies that don't get drafted that maybe you never heard of, like D3 guys that it's like, yeah, put me in, coach. I think this will be good overall for the health of the league. And if you really are a football fan, like last time the XFL or the AAF, whatever, all these other leagues that are coming out, a lot of people that I talked to are like, why? Like, because I was watching a few of those games and people were always like, why are you watching that? That's not good football. It's like, well, it's not as good. I mean, it's still like, if you like football, it's not like it's not enjoyable.
Right. Like arena football or whatever. Like, get to see Johnny Manziel run around and do his money sign thing. So it's still entertaining. It's just not NFL.
You're not going to try to tune in every week, but if it's on, you might not turn the channel. Yeah, I think that's super cool. And with a businessman like The Rock behind it, super smart. Another businessman who is often considered smart. Some would say that he's a genius, and that's why a lot of people are rubbed the wrong way. He's not really that personable of a guy. Apparently, he got rubbed in all the right ways. Aaron Rodgers just went through a very intense cleanse.
Wait. Rub the right ways. Don't get him confused with Deshaun here.
This is just up his nostril mainly, and then butthole, I believe.
Okay.
So Aaron Rodgers, if you haven't seen, he did this cleanse. He said it was a Middle Eastern or Indian cleanse. However, there was a Middle Eastern or Indian man on ESPN that said he had never even heard of this. So, Aaron Rodgers said it was 800 to 1,000 years old. The cleanse was primarily, it starts with a day of vomiting to get rid of the bile and mucus. Then it's a day of forced laxatives and forcing yourself to excrete diarrhea to get rid of all the negatives in your lower half. And then the third day is a bunch of enemas, because all of the toxins have now accumulated near your colon. So the enemas are to clear those out. Then it's followed by where they take ghee and clarified butter. Also, you're consuming ghee during this time, and that's supposed to help with clearing out that. It absorbs the toxins, and then you excrete the ghee that has absorbed everything. Then they take the ghee, it's clarified butter.
This whole time you've been talking about this, you've had a disgusted look on your face.
It
pains you.
It does. Imagine yourself doing this.
I did it 2 weeks ago when I was sick.
Exactly. And did you feel good during all of this?
I felt like dog water.
Did you feel good when it was done? Did you feel like great? I feel great now. Okay, yeah. Then they dipped like clarified butter and they they swirl it up your each nostril to clear out the sinus. And it's supposed to help with your with like ear, nose, throat, like clear all that out. And then obviously the consuming of the ghee, and then throughout this you are not eating caffeine, sugar, all these certain things, and you're doing yoga and meditation during this time. But yeah, and then he said afterward he's just head to toe body cleanse, spiritual, physical, all of it. My comment was 1 trip to White Castle, way cheaper, does the exact same thing. Guarantee at least 5 days of just never leaving the bathroom, not sure which hole's gonna come out, and it is a spiritual experience. So 1 trip to White Castle, or probably multiple thousands of dollars for this one person to just finger your nose and asshole for days. I just, like, obviously one of those things I'll do if it's cheap, but I'll prefer the White Castle. So
exactly.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, I if he feels good, maybe he needed that cleansing after his split with his fiance. No, it's never fun to hear somebody split up, whether you like the person or not. No, don't want him to have like a broken heart. If this is what he needed, I'm glad he got what he needed, but oh my God, that just,
maybe he should just
drink some curdled milk, chew on that for a bit.
He should take his spiritual cleanse and just take some time off from the NFL. I think don't come back to the Packers. Do you?
Yeah. Do you as many times as you want a day.
Yeah. Just not in the NFL. Not in the NFC North.
Yeah, totally fine if he wants to, take a year or two off. Maybe retire completely, go to Jeopardy. Yeah. Moving on though. Kirk Cousins, another quarterback. Some people say he is similar, quirky, doesn't really get along with everyone, but he's a quarterback that some people are saying might not be in the NFC North either anymore. Why? Yeah. Because apparently the Carolina Panthers called the Vikings and asked for a trade. This was completely blown out of proportion, which I made this tweet out. For those of you that didn't read the original story or didn't communicate with the original source, the Panthers called and it went no further than asking how much. The Panthers called saying, basically, how much would it take for Kirk Cousins? Is Kirk Cousins available? The Vikings responded, and the Panthers said, okay, later. So either the Vikings said, we're not interested, and their response was, no, he's not available, or they said a price that was so high, the Panthers were like, can't do that, or they're, okay, we'll think about it. Like, that's the only possibilities. So it's not, they talked about Darnold, they talked about this person.
I don't believe that if the Panthers, if this was an actual report that came out and the Panthers called and the price was too high, you would have heard the price was too high. So that just makes me believe that we gave them, honestly, it was probably a Stafford-like deal.
Only thing I think is interesting is the Panthers aren't going to leak that. So I think that was leaked on the Vikings side. And I would assume
a reporter that wanted.
I would assume it's leaked by the Vikings. If it is by the Vikings, it's probably to let Kirk know that they are willing to trade him, to maybe coerce him into restructuring. The other stuff was that apparently there are currently like 3 teams interested in trading for Kirk Cousins. The Philadelphia Eagles were interested. The Carolina Panthers are interested. And then there was one other team I tweeted about. I can't remember. I think it was the Colts, Indianapolis Colts. And then today there was something about the Niners. And I was sitting there like, for a guy that everybody seems to hate and there's just terrible quarterback, these are a lot of teams that are trying to win now and like do well in their division that are trying to get Kirk Cousins. All these guys that don't want Kirk, all these people that think Kirk Cousins is bad. How do you explain the Eagles are willing to move on from Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins because they think Kirk Cousins would make them better than the Cowboys, better than the football team, and the Giants. The Niners would want Kirk probably to give Trey Lance another year.
Yeah, but to go deeper into the playoffs.
And as an upgrade over Jimmy G, who just 100%. Took them to the Super Bowl a couple years ago and almost again. The Colts, who have believed that they are on the cusp of a Super Bowl for like 3 years in a row now, which is why they got Phillip Rivers, then Carson Wentz, because they kept thinking that these guys were going to take them. They think that Kirk Cousins is that guy. And the Colts are not in an easy division, so they think Kirk Cousins is the guy that can take them far. Why do all these really like at least above average teams at worst. Niners are better than above average, but if you want to be, whatever about
Philly was like right there in the playoffs too.
Colts are the only one of those three that didn't make the playoffs because but Philly did make the playoffs.
Yeah, Panthers want a quarterback because if they get a competent quarterback, that's their division.
I mean, they were a competitive team with Teddy Bridgewater. They weren't competitive with Darnold because Darnold is dog water. He's just not good. I saw some people saying a lot of Vikings fans obviously were all for it. I don't want to dive too deep into it because these, like I said, these initial talks are not going anywhere. It sounds like the Vikings are not interested in moving him, but I saw a lot of Vikings fans all for it. They want Kirk gone. You absolutely do it because you can move on from the contract. The Darnold contract, actually, you don't really net too much.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
All these trades for Kirk are, you have to be okay going 3-14. You just have 6-11 would be good.
The only team that makes sense there, well, actually, there's two teams that make sense. And that would be Philadelphia and San Francisco. They're not going to like to hear this, but you would want a young quarterback.
Right. You'd ask for, and the Eagles have what, 3 first-round picks?
Yeah, because they got one for the Wentz.
So it'd be like, all right, at least one of those first-round picks and Hurts.
Yeah. But Niners, we don't want Jimmy G. We wouldn't want Jimmy G. We would ask for Trey Lance. That's how it'd be. And
and they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Or it'd be like, oh, well, give us one of your young defensive guys that you really like. Obviously not Nick Bosa or Fred Warner, but give us some of these other. They would be asking for a lot, and that's because Kirk Cousins is not bad. So I think this is all just proof. Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback, and we've seen it with every team. We saw those 16 guys that made the Super Bowl that were never able to make it back. With whole Joe, everybody's talking about that with Joe Burrow, how he might never make it back to the Super Bowl. All these other, and Kirk Cousins was better than almost every one of those 16 guys that made it. It was just proof to me that without that team around you, no quarterback is making it to the Super Bowl. Sticking with the Vikings though, they did hire their next 5. They hired Matt Daniels as their special teams coordinator, Durante Jones as their D-back, Ken Katwika as their assistant special teams coach, Wes Phillips as their offensive coordinator, Mike Smith as their outside linebackers and pass rush specialist. Wes Phillips was the one everybody's talking about, the offensive coordinator. I'm big into special teams, so I like the fact that we got multiple special teams hires done. But yeah, Wes Phillips apparently is one of these young guys that wants to embrace the new mentality of the modern offense. Yeah, I think that was all good news. I don't think we need to do too much into it, but
yeah, I think the one thing that stood out to me, I watched the Matt Daniels interview. He had a lot to say. I don't know if he was supposed to just keep doing his intro, but he kept going. So, but yeah, he came from the Cowboys. Obviously the Cowboys had 4 block punts, punt return touchdowns. So they did well.
And Zerline made a resurgence.
Yeah, and so he spoke to Kene, and he said that he believes Kene can be one of the best returners in the league. So.
Well, he could.
Yeah, so
Kene exploded the second he started returning. Well, everybody knew that. He got drafted, and it was like, this is going to be our new returner.
But he's a rookie, so he had to get past a certain individual's stubbornness to get out there.
Oh, you mean the little bitch boy coach?
Yeah, because it wasn't Ryan Ficken. Ryan Ficken knew what he was doing. So
speaking of not little bitch boy coach, David Culley. David Culley was the Texans coach. He got fired. Mentioned I don't believe that with a guy like Davis Mills as your quarterback. That's a lot of people said that if you can win with Davis Mills, you're a good coach. And he was winning games with Davis Mills. Well, there was another coach there was another coach that got fired, and people were wondering. People were going to bat for this coach, why did he get fired? Which was Brian Flores. But people seem to love Tua Tagovailoa. Davis Mills and Tua had almost identical seasons this past season. Touchdowns, interceptions.
Completions.
Yep, it was rushing. Tua had the advantage in rushing.
Right.
But when it came to all passing stats, passer rating, completions, percentage, yards, touchdown, interception, all of it, almost identical. And people were talking as if Davis Mills was the next Zach Mettenberger or Paxton Lynch, one of these guys. And they talk about Tua every year as if he has the potential. He just needs the right coach. He needs that right team. Everything. I don't know what it is about wanting Tua to succeed. It's probably the injury thing. Like got injured,
Right.
benched, and then just like Carson Wentz. People wanted Carson Wentz to succeed because he got replaced by somebody who won the Super Bowl. Tua got replaced by somebody who won the national championship. I think people want to root for him. I think that I like Tua. I also liked Davis Mills. I wanted the Vikings to take him, and they took Mond, and I was like, okay, cool. But I like Davis Mills. I don't think either of them are starter quarterbacks, at least not right now. I just don't think they're very good. I just I wish they were good. I wish they I want the players to be good.
Know, right?
But when you watch, it's like there's certain quarterbacks when you watch them. Like when I watch Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't be scared. Like 2-minute drill when Kirk Cousins is there, I think more likely than not. I don't care what the stats say because sometimes the stats might be wrong. It's just when I watch him, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to score a touchdown in the last 2 minutes. When I watch Tua, I never feel like it's going to be a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I never watch and I'm like, oh no, Tua's back there.
Yeah.
Oh no, Davis Mills is back there.
Right.
Like it just, I think that's really interesting. Like I really liked Tua coming out. I thought Herbert was probably going to end up being a little bit better, which he looks a lot better. I thought Tua was going to be better than this, and I didn't think Herbert was going to be this good, but I did think Herbert was going to be slightly better.
Personnel makes a difference too. I mean,
And coaching makes a difference.
Right.
All of it. But yeah, if Tua had Mike Williams, Antonio Gates, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Melvin Gordon. No, wait, Melvin was gone by then. But Austin Eckler, like all these guys to start his career, kind of helps. I feel bad because we got a friend who's likes the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But I think the Dolphins. I think that if you think Davis Mills is a bad quarterback, and you thought it was impressive that David Culley was able to win with that as quarterback, you should be more impressed with Brian Flores and disappointed that Tua is a quarterback. Like I see people defend Tua more than attack him. I don't think Tua's that great. I think that's just proof.
Right. I mean, yeah. Just to take it back to, just to bring everything back to the Vikings, like the same thing with stats wise, comparing people. Like Kirk's stats are up there with the best, and like comparing them sideways you can love this person but hate this person. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, 100%. You have any other sports talk? Otherwise, that might be it for us today.
Oh, just Ed Donatel. I watched just a small thing on him. They asked him a question that seemed very targeted, and it basically was like, do you feel having a good communication with your players is important? And Ed Donatel was just like, absolutely. He's like, I want to talk to these guys, see what they see out there, and just had to have like a big rotation of knowledge going around because the more they know, the more I know, the better we're going to work as a group. So,
well, and one thing that I've heard is that sometimes reporters are told by the team publicist, ask a question regarding this, please. Like they'll ask one or two reporters to basically a plant, like a magician does a plant, just one or two planted questions. I would assume they purposefully asked the oldest coach at Donatel. They purposely asked it because it's anti-Zimmer.
Yeah.
And they purposely asked it for the fans. I think that was probably one of those questions that either the reporter did a good job or that was one of those questions the team was like, hey, could you ask Donatel about talking to the players? Right. That definitely feels like a planted question.
Yeah. I'm sure in regards to the actual answer, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell made the point like that he wants communication throughout the whole staff and the players. And Kwesi, yeah. So one big, everyone needs to be on the same page. Like we're building this together. So I'm sure that is the right answer. Like I'm sure that is not a lie. I mean,
only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Skull. Yeah, skull. Thank you for sticking with us this week. I apologize if I did have a lack of energy. I feel like Aaron Rodgers' butthole after that cleanse. I just not doing hot for a couple days now. Doing all right though. Made it through. We're here for you. We'll be here again next week. We're here every week. Doesn't matter. We're not fucking leaving. We'll see you again next week in our sports section. If you like Marvel, we'll see you again this weekend, next week in our Marvel section. You all look great today. GG.
GG.